So welcome back to I Think I'm Doing This Right. Today, my guest is both a friend and someone who I have watched build a company from the ground up. He's a digital creator who is also a senior software engineer at MailChimp and the founder of Render Atlanta, a software engineering conference that focuses on culture as the underpinning of successful engineers. A software engineering conference that focuses on culture as being one of the underpinnings of successful engineers. The 2021 Render Atlanta conference brought together over 300 engineers with over 20 speakers to drive diversity, inclusion, and accessibility in the software space. The 2022 conference features 4 days of content for over 8,000 attendees and 50 plus speakers. And let me tell you, I attended the Render conference in 2021 and it was lit. Like the nerdiest, swaggiest people on the planet. Lanyards that were like gold chains. A wing bar, because it is not Atlanta conference unless there is a wing bar. And a trap museum where you can go sneak off, get your work done, answer phone calls, take conference calls, or do whatever you want. It was so lit. I want to welcome my guest today. I'm so excited to welcome Justin Samuels.
Appreciate you.
How are you doing?
I think I can't really accurately answer that question anymore. I'm doing okay, I guess you could say.
Well, you didn't throw your phone today, so I feel like, it's a good day when you haven't thrown your phone across the room just yet.
I think it's all about micro improvements and just trying not to lose your mind every day out here.
Absolutely. So we met officially early days of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah,
you were like, hey, I just want to meet you. I'm trying to build, community contacts. Would you be willing to have a sit down?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I had just been sitting at home looking at the balls, on the laptop, just, trying to stay sane. But I appreciated that so much. And you have such an interesting and unique pathway into this technology space. So tell me about how you got into tech and how you became a software engineer.
So I started out in tech, honestly, back in the MySpace days. So I started out, I used to be that nerdy kid in school. You wanted to make your top 8 hot, then you came to me, because I was the kid that knew how to put a music in the background, or I would make your own themes and everything like that. Nice. So then what happened was...
Shout out to Tom at MySpace. That was an era.
I owe Tom some checks, for real. I was making all kinds of $20 here, $10 here, just because, I was in elementary school, middle school, and all my friends were giving me $20 just to make their page,
Nice. So run it up.
Right.
I'm here for it.
Right.
Okay.
So then I went to college, and then I was kind of lost. A lot of people don't even notice, but I was actually a culinary arts major at the time.
Really?
And I was all into food and whatnot. I mean, I say culinary arts, but the actual term was culinology, which was the science behind cooking. So
so food science?
Yeah, well, kind of, because food science is more along FDA approvals and how to get stuff to pass.
Gotcha.
This is the actual science of cooking. So what is the logic behind why a cake would arise?
Interesting.
Stuff like that. But please don't ask me nothing right now, because I don't remember any of that shit at all.
Okay, but what compelled you to go from you are slanging MySpace pages for $20 to I want to go study the science of food?
I was your typical teenager / a young adult where I was just trying to find my way, and I was everything from a business to a nutrition. Then I was I enjoy eating the food a lot, so nutrition's not gonna work for me. I try to tell somebody, you gotta lose weight, but I gotta lose weight. It ain't gonna work out long term. So then I went to culinology, because I can now eat the food, you know what I mean? And then I was walking past a poster one day with my LB, Akivan, and I saw this a piece of code. And I was like, oh, I know what that is. He's like, oh, you should think about becoming a major in a BIS. And I was like, okay, which those who don't know, that stands for Business Information Systems. And I walked into the room, started talking, and they were like, yeah, I think you'll be a good fit. And like they say, the rest is history, pretty much.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And what I love about your journey, too, is that, I'm from Seattle. And, there was this expectation for me to like go into software engineering, and then I went to fashion and business, right? So, but like it was a natural, like it would have been a natural transition for me coming from like Microsoft City. Yeah. And you're from Bridgeport, Connecticut, which I didn't even learn was a place until like 2014 because I did a fellowship program there. And then you went and got your engineering degree.
No, I got
your BIS,
degree,
right? Your business information systems degree in Mississippi
State.
And so, yes, well, like so I'm thinking like these aren't necessarily places where you think of training people up in this idea of information technology or information systems or technology as a whole. So, like as you have clearly created such a phenomenal career for yourself, a senior software engineer at MailChimp who just also recently sold to Intuit, right? Intuit. Over this last year. And one of like the top employers, a very prestigious employer here in Atlanta. Could you have imagined, that kind of route from Bridgeport, Connecticut to Mississippi to now I'm like really killing it as a software engineer?
So the honest answer is absolutely. So I just didn't know the path.
Okay.
Like I always knew I would be known for a thing, and I had a timeline on what I wanted to do and when. It was like, what is gonna be that a vessel that unlocks that timeline for me? And that's all I really cared about was how do I become a person that could own their own, business? How can I make my own way to move to a major city? These are all things that I had my own benchmarks for, but I was just unsure of if I'm gonna do it through culinary arts or through tech or anything else.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, my dad, he's an immigrant. And so I've always had this you gotta hustle all the time mentality.
Okay.
And I knew one way or another, I would just hustle my way out of it. But as we learn, when you own a business, you gotta kind of learn not to work in the business no more, work on it.
Yeah.
And you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm hustling harder than hustling smarter. So Absolutely. That's the mindset I'm on now.
So Render. Render is so fascinating to me because it is very unapologetically like Atlanta. It's unapologetically like swaggy. And I remember I've been to lots of tech conferences as a journalist and as someone in this space. And I had never seen anything like it. And like hardcore tech, I was sitting in a session, and maybe it was a React session. More and likely. It was like real like code on the board. Like, here's why your code is jacked up and you're gonna have to get this fixed up. Like that was like, I was like, this is how like I understand, like tell me why this is trash, right? And I just saw the embeddedness of the culture. But can you talk to me about the building and the idea of Render? And then obviously some of the challenges that arose as you were trying to launch Render.
Oh man, that's like the challenges that came about as I tried to launch it, or the challenges I'm going through now?
I mean, clearly, you need a session to talk about today.
Today's been wild.
Because yesterday was wild, but today. Well, let's start out. Well, let's start here. Let's start at the idea for Render.
Okay, so the idea truthfully came about because I was back in Mississippi for a tech conference called Magnolia JS.
Okay.
And I was out there. It was me and my guys. All of them actually spoke at the conference in 2021, but all of us were out there, and they were like, "What tech conferences are happening in ATL?" And I was like, "I think there's only like one, but it's actually not in Atlanta. It's actually out in Cobb, which we know is not Atlanta.
It's not Atlanta. I love that song. That's not Atlanta.
So it's happening at the Cobb Galleria, and I was like, well, that's not really Atlanta.
Okay.
We need to have our own thing. And then after that, I was like, well, if we have our own thing, me being a black man, I want this shit to be like hot to where I want to come to, not corporate hot. You need to be a blackness everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, I joined a TGS. I was like, okay, this is the spot where I want to have this.
Yeah, the gathering spot, the black-owned co-working spot, right? And they just recently sold to another black-owned company.
It sold to Greenwood. Yeah, so the Greenwood, So joined that, and to make a long story short, I was like, if we have this tech conference, I'm gonna do it my way. I don't want to be done anybody else's way. I wanted to be able to say I was unapologetic about the rules. And I wanted people to feel like they could bring their kids there, they could bring anybody they love there, and ultimately leave feeling fulfilled both culturally and food as well.
Yes,
so,
the food was amazing.
Yeah.
I will say, what do you feel like you've gotten right about launching Render, because it is taken off like crazy?
Yeah, I think what we got right was just being unapologetic. That's A. And then B, understanding our cash flow. Those are the two things that I used to be overwhelmed by it, but now that we have a grasp on it, I'm like, okay, I know when we gotta move money, when we wanna have cash on hand, when I could take crazy chances on stuff like we launched a black tech house and we had a whole tour. It's costed us a lot of money to do, but I said, okay, we got this cash on hand, let's make this thing a reality.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs wait around to get that part right, and then they can't ever really grow. They're just doing the same thing again and again and again, and they're like, well, why is my competition doing better? And it's like, because you got to innovate. But the only way you could
take those risks,
is if you understand your cash flow and you understand your customer, which goes back to me being unapologetic. So
yes. Okay, so now we'll touch on this year, right? Like
should be nuts.
But that's also what happens with growth,
Yeah.
right? Is that like it gets a little bit harder when you are taking bigger risks.
It
You've
does.
brought on a team. I feel like I've met some of your team members as well. It's
Yep.
been really wild to see, especially because, the first year, kind of coming out of a pandemic, like trying to figure out, how do you maneuver and grow? And now, have you doubled the numbers?
A triple.
We tripled. All right. Well,
We tripled both on the attendees and on the overall income too. Like we've tripled that, and then we've a 10x. I want to say at this point the amount of partners we have now too.
that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
So you've built a multi-million-dollar tech conference
I wouldn't go that far yet.
in Atlanta.
Yes.
So just do you see yourself as being or becoming a full-time entrepreneur at some point? Like at some point, like Render's going to get so big that you are forced to say, like, I have to devote 100% of my time and attention. And not that like you have reduced your input into the business or the leadership
Right.
around building the conference, but what does that potential transition look like for you when you feel like, okay, I've got to go full throttle?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's going to be determined upon everything that's at play. So what the market is telling me is like, hey, if we give you X amount of millions, then what can you do? And if we do a great enough job in 2022, and say, okay, I gave you X amount, let's try to increase that. And if we increase that, what is going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is Justin will have to quit his other job because we've hired 18 people. And the 18 people are like all working tirelessly every day.
Yeah.
So the only way that we could ever increase it is if I'm paying attention the whole time.
Yeah.
And we hire more as well. So
What's been the toughest part of all of this coming pretty quickly? I mean, to go from like 0 to 18 to, tripling in size, tripling the amount of partners you're working with, like that just requires more and more and more. And a lot of times, like when you explode, when your business just explodes, you go from concept to a proof point. Like that can be a hard, like you're having to spend this time like catching up to yourself.
Yeah.
How do you manage that and feel like, okay, I think I'm clearly doing something right. I may not know what it is, but I'm doing something right.
I think the hardest part, or the thing that has been the most crucial, is honestly staying close to my purpose. Because when you do start, like you said, your business explodes, everybody wants your time, everybody's trying to ask you questions about everything. There are times where you gotta really remember why you began this thing,
right?
And hold that close to you, because when the customers start to be like, hey, I paid you X amount, I wanna hear about this and that, it can get overwhelming at times. You're like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But then you're like, no.
And then the phone goes across the room.
Right, the phone goes across the room really quickly. Really quickly. But then you calm down, like, okay, these are problems that I used to pray for, you know?
Right.
And I'm very happy to be in this position now.
I love that. I always say I have good problems.
Yeah, you got good problems. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are days where I'm like, this is a horrible problem to have right now.
And now I'm going to go work at Trader Joe's in my happy place because I don't want to do this anymore.
You know what's crazy, just to like touch on that though, is like, I told somebody because they were asking me, oh, what is the thing that you envy? Because I always tell people, like, I have everything that I want. I got enough money. I got a nice car. I got a nice house. I have a cat at home. I have all
Your
that.
Your cat piece.
Yeah, I have all that. But the thing that I envy the most is when I see people that are happy being complacent. You know, and this is not to talk down to anybody that just works like a 9 to 5, but I meet people that are like, I'm happy I just work my 9 to 5. I have my wife, I have my kids, I have my dog, my cat,
kids, my dog,
and I get paid time off, and I'm happy. But me, or even you're like, there is more out there, and I want to do it all.
Yeah.
And you are never going to be satisfied just hanging out.
Yeah.
But that is a gift and a curse, because now I'm like, man, those people are just happy being at home watching TV.
Yeah.
I couldn't ever be happy doing that.
Right,
you know?
right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it now.
But have you seen Hamilton?
No.
Okay, see.
You're judging me already. See, look at you.
am.
You judge me like, really?
Your task, amongst all the other things you have to do, is to see Hamilton. But there is this one musical component where it's like, you know, you'll never be satisfied. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I sing that in my head, you know, and it's like,
really,
sometimes like my friends or my significant other will just be like, you're never gonna be satisfied. And it's like, no, like there's so many things I have to do before I die. And I gotta just like try to figure that out along the journey. And I think that really does, that really is such a core part of what entrepreneurship is.
Yeah.
It is, I see something in the world that doesn't exist.
And you want to go create it really quickly.
I have to create it. I got to create it quickly. Sometimes with no money, no context, no resources, no time. And I have to literally pull something out of thin air to make happen. Right. And as I watch you do this, because you regularly give me updates, which I love, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is blown up like incredibly. But yes, it's that hard part. It's that emotional component as well, that like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you sleeping well? Are you eating well? None of those things happen. Yeah. It's easy to neglect that. Yeah. What do you feel like you've gotten wrong that you've had to course correct in this last year?
I would say my mindset on understanding that I could do it all. It's impossible to ever win every single battle. Instead, I like to think now, how can I mitigate the bleeding and still be happy, you know? Because I used to be like, well, I'm killing it in the gym, and my sleep pattern is amazing, but I've been spending a lot of like money on like a BS. Mm-hmm. Or
what kind of things do you buy? Because I'm like a Uber Eats. I'm like
what do I buy?
Bring me my food. Like my bill on meal delivery is like ridiculous.
But see, is that truly you, or is that the entrepreneur you?
It's probably the entrepreneur.
Yeah,
that's
like, the entrepreneur you.
If I take a break, just take an hour to prepare, exactly. And I'm like, I can get something. I can eat a salad. Like I can do that real quick. Right.
Exactly. Because like, I hate going to Uber Eats or DoorDash, but when you doing client proposals and emails, you're like, okay, order this. Okay, when people do this, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's great, but to answer your question, what I spend my money on, honestly, I don't really buy stuff. Yeah. Truthfully, like.
So then you know that's out of control when you are buying a lot of things.
Correct, because like anytime I buy stuff, and let anybody know on camera, this is not to like brag or anything, but anytime I do buy stuff, it's a major purchase. Like I bought a house.
Yeah, like one day you just showed up, you're like, I'm buying a house this weekend. And
that's legit what I did. Like I'm buying a house this weekend. Yeah. When I did it. Or like when I bought my car, I got up one day and said I'm buying a car, and I had a car at the house in the next hour. Yeah. You know, like all my stuff I spend money on is gonna be a bigger stuff. Okay. And that's because I detach myself from materialistic items now. Like I could be like, well, I can't really afford this thing. I'm not gonna try to overextend myself
Gotcha.
and do it.
Okay.
Or like a lot of people really want to drive a nice Bentley. I'm like, a car's a car. Like I really don't care no more. I like a nice car, but I more so care about the functionality of it. I'm not like it had to be a name brand this or name brand that, because I've now realized it's all the same.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you were talking about about that transition in your mind where you have to realize, like, I can't do all of these things myself.
Yeah, you
I
can't.
have to build a team. I have to outsource in order to get further so that I can move on to that next vision, right? So,
what's up?
Sorry, I want you to elaborate. Sorry.
Oh, my bad.
We'll go back.
My bad. I heard you talking.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, no. Okay, so you alluded to this, like, to scale, to be sane in all of this, you can't do everything yourself anymore. No. So you talk about, starting Render, you now have, 18 plus people. I think by the time this podcast comes out, it'll probably be more folks. Can you just like share a bit about going from 0 to 18?
0 to 18?
Yeah, like how you were able to adapt to that like incredible change and transition to, idea to now, like, I have to lead this team to bring this entity that I built out of my brain by asking a question into fruition.
So to be honest, there is no a playbook for this shit at all. Like at all. We have a cameraman that actually follows us around all the time. So one day when the thing is huge, you could actually see me at the very first meeting we had with all of us there. And I was like, hi, I don't really know what to do. All I had knew was I need to hire people. Yeah. And now I have you. And I don't know what the hell to do with you that you're here now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And my biggest thing coming out of that was that I had to realize I don't gotta like master what they're gonna do. I just have to understand that they are the smarter one to get the task done. Yeah. And just trust them at the end of the day.
At the end of the day,
yeah. Just completely trust them and understand that nobody will ever do a good of a job as you. Once you understand that, you're like, you know what? It's fine that you didn't adopt this I right here.
Because I would have dotted the I, crossed the T,
like me, you know what I mean?
Threw some glitter on it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But you got the job done, though. That's all I care about. You know what I mean? So trust and just understand that it's always going to be your child. Yeah. And I don't think anybody would care about your child the same exact way. Yeah. What do you feel like you're doing right, or what do you think that you're doing right? Am I doing right? I learned how to delegate, and the engineer in me learned how to scale from the beginning. Because anytime we are writing code, we always think about, okay, how will this code work in 3 years, 8 years, or 10 years? And that is my superpower, where I'm like, okay, y'all, we're gonna solve this, but we're not gonna be a one-time thing. We're gonna solve this for the next 2 years, or the next 5 years. The downside is it could sometimes hurt you because you're gonna hold up getting things out the door. But the cool thing is when the time comes for stuff to actually work, it just flows again and again. Like even going back to how we scaled this year, the only way we were able to scale so quickly was because we had everything laid out. So when it was time to go from 100,000 to a million, it was a flip of a switch. Yeah. Not, okay, we gotta shut down, find new software, do all that. We already had everything there. Wow. So.
Planning for longevity.
Yeah, I'd say that, and just honestly trusting everybody and just delegating a task. Yeah. And then one thing that people sleep on a lot are learning how to build robots. They really save your life. Like, we use Zapier on the back end, and I automate. I think I got, like, last check, I got like 40 or so zaps. Yeah. But they take care of a ton of the things we got to get done. Like the mindless things every single day.
Absolutely. So. That's such a part of like how you're operating and using your tech stack. It's going to matter in the long run to save you time overall. Right.
It's like I tell my team, we try to build everything so that you could be portable. Yeah. And I always say, ask yourself this question: can I get the job done on my phone? And first time I told them this, a team was like, why is that a huge deal? I'm like, well, because if you could get it done on your phone, you could be on a beach drinking a drink and still get the job done.
Right.
And then that's when everybody's like, oh, that's smart, because now we know we are building it to be a portable now. You know?
I love that. Building a portable company. I love that. Justin, where can we find you and find out about Render?
I am not online. I'm joking. You can find me on all social media. It's at Thug Debugger. THUGDEBUGGER. So, and I think that's the true intersection of culture and code right there.
Yes.
With my username. Render, you could go to enterrender.com. So ENTER or ENDER.com.
I'm really looking forward to attending the conference. My team is like really excited about Render.
It's gonna
like,
be nuts.
We talk about it like at our all hands. Yeah, I'm excited because I want to get my chain again and I want to go to the wing bar.
Oh my God. Well, we got a couple cool things at the wing bar this year.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank
Appreciate
you.
You for having me.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next one.